policy driven, there are many areas where you can agree and work together. When you have areas of disagreement, okay, just debate, and that's that, and may the best argument win.
Well, so much for that, because now he's mocking widows and posting nasty memes. We've got to talk about this progressive YouTuber because this left-wing YouTube star, Kulinski, is going viral for mocking Erika Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, with a really crude skit or joke Halloween costume that he posted in the mode of Spirit Halloween style costumes. And that costume, you can see it, I'll put it on screen here, is called Fake Grieving Widow Grifter Costume. And it shows Erika Kirk with makeup running down her face, money spilling out of her clothes or the bag that she's holding, I guess. And on the wow, this is really something. On the costume, it says includes fake teardrops, skin tight black leather morning pants. And he very much did this, I think, to intentionally antagonize people and attack Erika while she's grieving her husband, and it's gone mega viral. It has tens and tens of millions of views, and people are not happy. Now, before we get into more of this, who is Kulinski? Well, he is a massively popular progressive YouTube star with over 1 billion views on YouTube, and he is married to Crystal Ball, another high-profile progressive political commentator. He is not a politically correct guy. He's a little bit more in what you might call the dirtbag leftist mold, where he says edgy stuff and is offensive, but pushes Medicare for all and left-wing policies. But even this, I think, is a low blow and is a new low for him. To actively attack a widow for no real reason. I mean, she's not doing anything to hurt anyone. How she dresses is her business. And the whole business of judging people for how they grieve is not something I'm particularly interested in. Oh, she's smiling in this photo. Why did she smile here? Or, oh, why is she doing this? It's like, you can't possibly imagine what it would be like to be mourning your husband and the father of your children in front of millions of people and cameras all day, dissecting your every move. And grief can be a funny and strange thing. So he, of course, got tons of backlash from this, to which he doubled down and said he posted more memes. He has not apologized. He has not said, my bad, guys. I was trying to be funny, but that wasn't cool. He posted this follow-up tweet. The same right-wing idiots who defended edgy jokes for a decade, as soon as the joke isn't about black or trans people, then it's like a Scooby-Doo meme with the dude removing the head from the monster and it has a mega hat on. And it says, and then there's a snowflake in its place. So what he's saying is that people who are upset by this are just snowflakes. They love edgy humor when it comes to, people who make jokes about trans people or what have you. But I think the main objection to that, I do agree that some people like edgy comedy sometimes, but not other times. The main problem I have with this is you're not a comedian, first of all. You're a ostensibly serious political commentator that gets millions and millions of views. And two, it's not really a joke. I mean, I think it's questionable whether, even if it was a joke, even if this was a comedian doing a stand-up set, you could probably give it a little more time before going after Erika Kirk. But okay, that would be one thing. I would be more open to this defense of these actions if this was literally a comedian doing stand-up or something of that ilk. No, this is a political commentator trolling his enemies and expressing disdain for them and then hiding behind the veneer of I'm just joking. Because the problem is, it's very clear from his commentary and the commentary of other people in his camp that it's not a joke. They do think she's fake. They do think she's a grifter. They do hate Erika Kirk. They really are that filled with animus and hate in their hearts, which I just can't relate to, despite over the years becoming much ideologically further apart from Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, having many disagreements, having criticized him many times. I don't really understand how any decent person, progressive, middle, conservative, MAGA, what have you, can look at Erika Kirk and want to judge or pick apart her, or to want to mock her or attack her or contribute in any way to the hardship she and her kids are going through. Her kids will probably see this post one day, or if they haven't already, God forbid, I really hope they haven't. And then I don't buy this, I'm just joking. Because again, he goes on to make these very serious attacks on Erika Kirk that aren't jokes. Like, so he posted, "What stage of grief is this?" And then it's a series of images with Erika Kirk hugging J.D. Vance, the vice president, and hugging Jesse Waters, the Fox host. And again, I'm like, I don't get this. What are you trying to say? I mean, we'll come to what some commentators are trying to say about this, and it's really baseless and despicable. But okay, so she hugged friends, dear friends of hers, during a time of loss and struggle. And some people have seized on stills where she like touches JD Vance's head when she hugs him or whatever. But it's one of those things where you look at a still photo, it looks more odd. When you watch the actual video of it, it looks like a normal hug, a normal embrace between friends. And there's videos of her doing it with lots of other people. And again, it's like, why are we putting this woman under the microscope? I saw a tweet, I can't remember who posted it, but it was something to the effect of, to the extent that Erika Kirk steps up and is involved in Turning Point or is a political figure, her opinions and ideas and advocacy are fair game for criticism. And you don't have to not criticize her or not push back on her on that stuff just because she experienced a tragedy. I agree with that. However, there's just no need to go after her personally, to attack her, especially, I mean, this is just so indicative of the corrosive state of our political discourse now, because to me, as somebody who also says their opinions for a living, and I'm sure has faced threats or harassment or pushback or backlash like Kyle has, I'm sure, you should have empathy and understanding for how horrifying what happened to Charlie was and how much of an attack on democracy and free speech it was. Instead, you're trolling his widow. This is one of those things where it's like, if he could step back and see someone else doing this in a context that wasn't so, I don't know, rotted by partisanship or tribalism, I think he would be horrified at that behavior if he has any shred of decency. I really do. But what do you guys think? There's more here, but I just want to remind you to subscribe, like, comment, yada, yada, yada. Consider becoming a channel member. I just dropped a Q&A where I asked my mom the questions you sent in for her, but that's only available for members. Thanks to all of you, over 100 of you who've signed up since I started doing those exclusive videos just a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, regardless, back here to the main story, which is Kyle Kulinski's viral posts mocking Erika Kirk. A writer that I follow who is right-leaning, Emily Zanotti, wrote, "This is sick. Look, I didn't lose my husband, but I did almost die and lost my baby, and I do not remember anything about the entire year after it happened. Nothing. I got laid off, got a new job, sold a house, bought a house, moved, my kids had birthdays, and it comes back in bits and pieces now, but only with really serious EMDR and CBT therapy. She's just living life, one foot in front of the other. Leave her the hell alone." I completely agree, and I just find the microscopic picking apart of her grief to be despicable. I also wanted to highlight this post from Brianna Wu, who is a liberal progressive Democrat, and she said, "I'm a liberal. I oppose the Turning Point political project." This is in response to Kyle Kulinski. "However, it is incredibly trashy to go after Erika Kirk. I don't know how anyone who is married could not have empathy for her." That's a good point I hadn't thought of, actually. Kyle is married, I believe, to the progressive commentator Crystal Ball, and you can't have some decency towards somebody who lost their spouse and is grieving their spouse. I mean, really anyone. You shouldn't have to be married to be able to do that. You just have to be a decent human being. But really, you still can't find that in you to just be a little kind, or maybe just don't hit send on that edgy post. I just find it despicable. The journalist Jesse Singal weighed in here and made another, I think, astute observation about this. I know the whole point of this is to garner a tut-tutting reaction, but I do think Kyle is effectively screaming, quote, but this is obviously not a real quote, it's paraphrasing, "I don't care about persuading normal people. I'm just trying to maximize my audience/revenue through hyperpartisanship." I think that's exactly right. I think Kyle knows what he's doing. He knows this will piss a lot of people off. It will bring attention to him. It will bring views and revenue in terms of ads. And sure, it might horrify normal Americans and make them further associate progressive commentators and advocates with extremism and toxicity, but he doesn't actually care about advancing those causes. He just cares about drawing attention to himself and building his own profile, which, I mean, if you ask me, that's the definition of a grifter, which is what he called Erika Kirk. So interesting how that one aged. Similarly, another thing that's disturbing about this is that Charlie had met Kyle multiple times and been kind to him and had civil conversations with him, including at Politicon. I'll put a picture on screen of the two of them. You can see Kyle smiling with him and taking the photo op. They did a panel together in 2018's Politicon, which I watched, and it says, "How the F are we going to get along?" Politicon panel 2018 featuring Kyle Kulinski, and Charlie Kirk is on stage. And here is what he had to say at the time as part of that panel. I watched it and I pulled a little clip for you guys. Look at this.
So my whole thing has been, and that's, the whole point of this panel is how will we get along? My answer to that is very simple. When we do agree, we do get along, and we can work together on those issues, and I have no problem doing that. But where we don't agree, let's argue, let's debate, let's have that disagreement, and that's what democracy is. And sometimes it's messy, and we're going to be at each other's throats, metaphorically. And other times, it's, great, and we can agree like we just did on Saudi Arabia. So I think when you're issues-based and policy-driven, I think that you'll find that there are many areas where you can agree and work together. And then when you have areas of disagreement, okay, just debate, and that's that, and may the best argument win.
What happened to this guy? What happened to this version of Kyle Kulinski, who was issues-based, who wanted to work together when there's common ground, and when there's not, debate and may the best argument win? Now you're trolling widows and posting memes, just insinuating terrible things about somebody whose husband died weeks ago. What happened to you? Seriously, I mean, the commentator in this clip, at least, seems like somebody who I might have profound disagreements with, but could see as, a formidable opponent, a respectable person in our political discourse. Whatever you're doing now just comes off as edgelordy for its own sake, intensely hypocritical and toxic, and like a betrayal of those things. Do you think this helps you advance Medicare for all? I certainly don't. Do you think this is issues-based? Oh, issues-based trolling of widows? That's what you meant back then? I don't think so. I think it's horrible. And I think it's probably the exact kind of thing that he levies criticisms of MAGA content creators or influencers for doing, culture war trolling instead of substance. And sometimes, maybe there's truth to that, but then you go around and do the same thing in a perhaps even more toxic and hypocritical way. I really have no space for that, and I just find it contemptible. One final thing about Kyle here. What makes his criticisms of Erika Kirk as some kind of grifter exploiting her husband's death or whatever very even further hypocritical, it's just nasty to begin with. But what makes it even more hypocritical is that Kyle has been caught lying about his father's death to push his pet political agenda. The context here is that during the 2020 presidential primary in the Democratic Party, Joe Biden was running against Bernie Sanders. Kyle was a big Bernie Sanders fan and really a big supporter of Medicare for all, whereas Biden supported Obamacare and maybe expanding Medicare, but not a full socialist government takeover of healthcare. Anyway, Kyle viciously attacked Biden for that and invoked his own father's death in a very emotionally charged way to advocate for that idea. But receipts show that he updated that story to push a politically expedient narrative, as you will see. Let's look at that clip.
My dad is dead because we don't have Medicare for all. He very well could be alive today if we had Medicare for all. He didn't have insurance. He avoided going to the doctor for his back pain. He went to a freaking chiropractor instead to save money. It was a tumor. By the time he went to the emergency room, it was too late. He died very soon thereafter. So Joe Biden is saying, okay, under my administration, I would pursue policies that still have your dad die.
So it's very clear what Kyle is suggesting. His dad didn't have insurance. He wanted to go to the doctor, but he couldn't. And he ended up going to some chiropractor instead. And he missed his cancer diagnosis. And he died. And that's why we need Medicare for all. Of course, there's the whole argument about surely Biden has some plans or policies that would have still allowed him to access it if he couldn't afford health insurance. That's not the whole point of the debate. Anyway, his dad wanted to go to the doctor, but couldn't because he didn't have health insurance, and that's why he died. That is what Kyle suggested when it was politically convenient and he was trying to push Bernie Sanders. However, years before that political motivation, Kyle Kulinski told a very different story. Listen to the rest of the clip.
Not many people know this, and I don't think I've spoken about this on air yet. But one of the reasons my father died young is because of a chiropractor. Okay, you're probably thinking, whoa, what the f***, are you serious? So my father, he smoked heavily his whole life. He died at the age of 56, okay, from lung cancer. And the cancer metastasized all over the place. Now, he's one of those guys who has this belief system that I totally disagree with. I always have. The idea that you never go to a doctor. Okay, you don't trust doctors, you never go to doctors, yada, yada. Well, that was problem number one. Problem number two is when he started having some back pain, he didn't go to a doctor. He knew a chiropractor from the place where he would golf all the time.
So when Kyle told the story years before, without a political motive, he said that his dad was scared of doctors and didn't want to go to a doctor and smoked all the time and got lung cancer, missed a diagnosis because he didn't want to go to the doctors, and died. That is tragic still. I'm very sorry that happened. I wish his dad was alive and well, but he didn't say anything about, oh, my dad wanted to go to the doctor but couldn't because he didn't have insurance back then. He added that or made that up and totally changed the story years later when it was politically expedient to push a particular narrative advancing his political agenda. Now, I view that as dishonest. I view that as unethical, but there's no reason I would really be bringing it up at the moment if Kyle had not just accused Erika Kirk of abusing and lying about her grief to be a political grifter. Dude, if that's not what you did with that story about your dad, I don't know what is. So you're just coming off as totally woefully hypocritical and genuinely unkind. And I would hope that he could reflect, log off for a while, come back and apologize to Erika Kirk, because this isn't good for you. Like, this corrodes your soul and your spirit. Even if you don't care about anyone else, having this kind of hate and spite in your heart is not good for you in the long run. That's my take. Though, of course, I care more about being decent to other people, and you would never catch me pulling this kind of stuff. That's my take. You guys have to let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, yada, yada. Yeah.